Can you hear me?
Yep,
Am I
you're
on the
back.
right mic? No.
Yeah,
Yes. Sweet.
yeah, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Chaz, welcome back. 2 times in 2 days.
Who could have ever thought it possible? David Lee Scales, but here we are.
I feel like it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We had to kick the old tires on that one.
So here's what we are talking about today, or right now, anyways. Well, first of all, welcome back. It's the grid. It's August 30th. It's 2024. Chaz Smith over there, David Scales here. What we're talking about and referencing is bringing a bonus episode to the listeners every week.
A bonus. It is a bonus, I feel. It is something like a little dessert, like a amuse-bouche. Do you like the amuse-bouche, David Lee Scales?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But a mousse bouche isn't a dessert, is
It
it?
is not. It's not.
No.
I was thinking this is more, I mean, this is a add-on to the show, but it's more like an amuse-bouche, I feel. And it's an amuse-bouche is not supposed to be filling. It's not supposed to be really substantive, right? It is
It's
supposed
just
to
tantalizing.
just a little tease, just a little taste of something.
Well, what I was thinking is, I think you mentioned an analogy of, are we leaving any fruit on the vine? And I was
Yes.
thinking, remember my dissertation about noble rot? You
Oh,
leave the
oh,
fruit on the vine for it to then become infected by a beautiful rot that then yields the most amazing elixir in the end. And that
is
becomes, it's smaller in volume, but it becomes more powerful, potent, flavorful, otherworldly.
is there already a podcast called Noble Rot?
There is a wine publication called Noble Rot. I don't know if there's a podcast. We can
Okay.
look it up. We
It's a
can
good
look it up and
name.
then lock it up.
It's a good name if it is not locked up.
Well, look, we say we're going to do a lot of things here. They never come to fruition. We forget about them the moment we stop recording. But this one we're bringing to you officially. We pitched it as the Grit After Dark, potentially, an additional podcast, a bonus episode every week for the core fans. And we recorded one yesterday.
And no surf talk on this one. That's the concept of the Grid After Dark is yeah, just surf talk in the day, but when the lights go down, when the mood changes, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about RFK Jr.? Let's do that. Want to talk about, what we're watching, what we're eating? Let's just do that. Let's focus on that stuff.
We use our best Devin Howard version voices for the After Dark show.
Speaking of, I was thinking Devin Howard needs to come on the next After Dark show. I was thinking the After Dark show will be a wonderful place to also bring surf personalities to talk nothing about surf.
Totally agree. Sounds good to me. Because, yeah, that's more interesting. Honestly, on Surf Splendor, my long form interviews, it's like over the years, I've learned less, not the less surfing, the better. But if somebody's going on a tangent that is totally non surf related, I used to try to call them back and, then ask them about, I don't know, a board they shaped for Tom Curran or something.
Yep.
It's like, no, don't let them go rogue. And that stuff, hearing surf luminaries talk about real life stuff is far more interesting than hearing them talk about a contest win.
I mean, I just feel
Yeah,
that and we're going to talk surf today. I love talking surf, nothing against surf, but there's a time and a place for no surf.
agreed. So we got a bonus episode coming at you. We're going to release, we recorded it yesterday. We're going to release it today after this show. So you will see it right here in the Grit feed. But what we're going to do is additionally build a separate feed that you can get that show on exclusively. My thought was, or I mean, not my thought, this is probably your thought too, but basically, when we talk about these non surfing things over the years, I've had two sets of feedback. TR and the DR is like, dude, I hate when you guys talk about TV shows. Like, I don't
Yeah.
watch TV. It's not, it does just quit wasting my time, focus on surfing. But I have a second set of feedback, which is that's my favorite part of the show. So we're still going to do it marginally here, just at, small amounts, but we're going to also that whole show is going to focus on zero surf and it's just all the other stuff. So
Just
that's the
talk.
and by the way, produced by Chaz has created, I'm just coming in and winging it. Chaz is designing the outline. It's the exact flip-flop of this show here.
Exactly. Exactly. Man, I will tell you, it is I mean, you were commenting yesterday. It is a full different feeling to be. It's weird how you'd think it's you and I talking. You would think that that is that. that there's no, but it feels entirely different when as a producer than as
Mhm.
talent.
Now, do you appreciate all the hard work?
I mean, absolutely. I've always appreciated the hard work. Uh, it's weird how it does change the dynamic though, in
It
like
does.
in a subtle way that's will take some getting used to, I feel. Like it's not this show, right? It is a
Yeah,
different show, which it's
totally.
odd that you can have the two same people basically doing the same exact thing, and it, for me at least, feels so different.
I know I mentioned it to you yesterday, but I was off my game a little bit. Like when you present an idea, I've learned taking a stance on something is makes for an entertaining podcast. So often you'll say something, I'll pick the opposite stance just and I can argue it and just to make it interesting, just to have a little bit of a debate because even if I don't believe in the stance I'm taking, I just take it to have. But when you pitch a concept to me yesterday and I have to think on the fly, my nature is to rationalize and to kind of come to a logical conclusion. Oh, I see this side of the story and I see
Yeah.
that side of the story and work my way through it. But that's not interesting. So I
No.
found with the first topic that you teed up, I was doing that. I was waffling a little bit. And then I just was like, no, I need to pick a stance. So then I finally lock into a stance, but I'm used to being the one who just presents it to you and let you try to figure it out, you know?
Just
So
off the cuff thinking is where, I mean, I feel like I can do that. I feel like I have instant poorly formed opinions on everything, but I really have opinions about everything. Uh, but yeah, like it's weird to then have to be on the other side of that, of my opinion. Like, I know what my opinion is, but my job now is to tease out something else or make a broader conversation that has, I don't know, that'll be more broadly interesting.
yeah. Well, the producer role, I think people underestimate how much kind of talent, I guess, is required for that because it really is. Anybody could do it, but to be good at it, it is a talent. And I think it takes time to figure out. It took me a long time to figure out, but if you do it well, there's always these themes hidden under the news stories that you can kind of then connect a through line and creating this overarching thing and then being able to deftly transition from one topic to the other and find those segues that make it seem like a seamless conversation is designed, you
It's a
know.
cu I mean, it's curating art at that point. But
Thank you.
yeah, I would love listener feedback though. If you feel inclined to go listen to the Grid After Dark as it's currently titled right now, have a listen and send feedback. I'll even start a new Instagram account where feedback can come into. I actually
I
started one. So you can send, I have a new handle, workshopping it here. It's the same as my Instagram handle. I mean, sorry, the uh X handle.
Twitter. Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is at Trash Pros. So I
Which is
thought,
better. That's better. That's a better handle all since the beginning.
there we go. So Trash Pros is live. So I'm mostly gonna have it. I still hate Mark Zuckerberg. I don't want to participate in his fake world, but I need to get the feedbacks. And so have at me. At
Well,
Trash Pros.
here's the other important reason to have it is this show has been super informed by listener feedback. And
Hmm.
in fact, at this point, it's almost entirely listener feedback. The segments are call-ins or emails that come through. So it's invaluable. And this dovetails with actual couple of news stories from this past week, which are we talked about last week, Stab Magazine sending out their survey. And on one of the questions on the survey was, what are your favorite podcasts you listen to? And they had 10 different or favorite surf podcasts. There was 10 of them. We were not mentioned. The Grit was not mentioned on there. We laughed about it. A bunch of listeners wrote us in as an entry. But then since then, Surfer Magazine published an article on their website, which was these are the 5 surf podcasts you should be listening to. And we weren't mentioned there again. And that's fine. Maybe there's 5 others, that's not really an affront. But I got to thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I'm not offended by this. I'm offended for my listeners about
Yeah.
this. This is a non acknowledgement of a core community of the surf space. We have former world champs listening to the show right now. You know what I mean? And like heads of industry in the surf space, like heads of brands, all that kind of stuff, listening to this show right now who give us feedback weekly. And these two media companies got their feelings hurt at some point about something we said and choose to not acknowledge the entire listenership who is then taking their survey. You know what I mean? Like they take the survey, they want to be represented. They want to be able to say, this is the one I actually listen to and like the best. And they can't do that. That's an affront to our listenership. So I'm like, all right, fine. We don't need to be friends with everybody in the surf space or every surf media company. What we do need to do is continue to be friends with and cater to our exact core listeners who are here with us every single week. So F you guys over there. We'll just continue catering to the core. Give us more feedback. We will produce the show that you want to produce. And that's why it's important for you to have, I think, in that other show,
A way to
it
get
should
reached
follow
out
the
to.
same, it should follow the same model. It should just, yeah, what do you guys want to hear more of that isn't surf related? Cool. That's what the show's going to be next week. And we'll talk about that.
Precisely. And I mean, back over to like both Surfer and Stab again. We talked about institutional hurt feelings, or institutions getting their feelings hurt, on last week's show. I mean, that is absolutely absurd, but it's also a deeper cut of this. It's why the surf industry failed, I think, round one, and surf media failed so badly, in the past, where how it all just went dumb and broke, is the amount of kind of arrogance, I think, that emanates from Stab or now from Surfer, where I don't know how Surfer can feel like they're arrogant, but I feel like they are now. I feel like, they got their mojo, they've worked through their AI issues, and they're feeling funky. They're releasing magazine issues. But it's the same mentality that drove them broke to begin with, which is this real gatekeeper mentality is we're the cool kids. We know it's cool. We're going to give you what's cool and you're going to like it because you're uncool and you're looking to us for, direction in what to think, what to be into, who to like, all this kind of stuff. Because we're the cool kids. This cool kid club of surf media is out. It was ridiculous then, way more ridiculous now, where, yeah, to just tag on, to hitch my cart to your sentiment, I would way rather know what average surfer on the street, what, surfer who surfs and works construction or whatever, like way more interested than in what that dude thinks than what, I don't know, who I don't even know who's at Stab anymore. Like whoever's in that room, or whatever, who's the editor of Surfer, whatever that dude thinks, I do not need to know. I do not care one iota what Jake Howard thinks about anything. Not only do I not care, I patently think Jake Howard is profoundly uncool.
Hmm. Well, we were kind of using the name the Grit After Dark, but I also feel there is a better name out there, and we just haven't landed on it yet. I like the idea of Noble Rod or something related to that. Maybe we can adjust that slightly. But listeners, submit feedback. If you have a great name, I think they're the ones who are going to identify it. But in the interim, I asked ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, you went in.
I went in and I said, the prompt that I gave it was, what should Chaz Smith and David Scales name their new podcast? This was presuming ChatGPT knew who
The
Chaz Smith
Grit.
is
Yeah.
and David Scales is, but that's the prompt that I gave them. And I was surprised they did know who we were.
Yeah.
It said, this was exactly what they said, quote, coming up with a name for a podcast can be a lot of fun, exclamation point. For Chaz Smith and David Scales, you might want something that reflects their personalities, interests, or the vibe of their discussions. Here are a few suggestions. Number one, the surf and beyond. If their podcast touches on surfing and other related topics. Number two, wave talk. Simple and catchy, especially if they're discussing surf culture. Number three, ride the tide. Emphasizes the dynamic nature of their conversations. Number four, breakpoint. A nod to both surfing and crucial moments in discussion. Number five, surf and sip. Perfect if they chat over drinks. Number six, the shoreline chat suggests casual, engaging conversations. Number seven, wave makers implies they're creating impactful discussions or insights. Ultimately, the name should reflect their unique style and their themes they plan to cover. What kind of tone or focus are they aiming for with their podcast?
That is so amazingly inspirationally bleak. Like I can't
It
think.
felt like the inertia.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think of a blander, more tepid offering of names. Like I get them all, obviously, but
Yeah.
thank goodness, I suppose, that ChatGPT is, and I'm not going to use that one word. I'm going to say that ChatGPT is just uninspired.
Yeah, it is. Um, I almost liked Breakpoint.
I mean, it's almost feels like we should use, unless listener feedback comes in strong for one thing or another, we should just take a ChatGPT one because they're so I don't know. Yeah, here's the thing I learned about naming businesses is an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
I used to think that naming business something really catchy and cool. I'd think about stuff, right? Like if
Right,
I
right,
had
right.
this business or, name it something cool. You realize the businesses that really work are the ones that have the blandest names, right? Like, whatever, United Shipping Lines, or it just says what it is and that's it. There's no flash, there's no funk, there's no like, ooh, I hear something cool. Let me dig in to see what it is. Nobody wants to dig in to see what your cool company name is. It should just be called, I mean, that's what Chat GPT sold us right there. It's don't be funky, just be straight. This is what it is. Wave talk.
Yeah, totally. Well, our goal with the podcast is not to reach some critical mass. Like by making it not surfing, it's not like, oh, because we're trying to then pander to a larger audience. This is going to be
Nope.
like a great podcast that takes over the world. That's not it. It's the opposite of that. It's if we have, let's say, 1,000 listeners to this show, there's probably 100 of them that want more from us. So we're just going to cater to that 100,
Yep.
because 90, nine, what's 100, 1,000 minus
90%.
100. Right. Okay.
90%.
So 900 of them got their fill every week. They don't need more. But the 100 who want to go deeper, that's who we're catering to. So that's what it'll
A
be.
little bit amuse bouche.
Moose Boosh. Follow up from last week. I mentioned Dr. Rosenblatt won that weekend van,
You sure did. And he's coming
and
out.
he's coming out, right? So he lives in Jersey. He's flying out for the boardroom show in a couple of weeks. He wrote in and he said, by the way, Ivanka's husband, Jared Kushner's father's house in New Jersey has a good surf break right behind it. I've never seen them surfing there. His old man tried years ago to prevent us from surfing there unsuccessfully.
Here's the thing, exactly my point about Ivanka and what we talked about last week. Surfing has evolved now, just to mean, I mean, we discussed it already, but if father-in-law has a surfable wave behind the house, and you got to think, and I've been in Jersey when it's good before, and when it's good in Jersey, it's really good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you can have those fun days too, I feel, when it's, I don't know, what is it? It's hurricane season-ish, right? When it gets good there, but when
Yeah, fall.
the water's still warm. Uh, and so if there was a pumping wave or a wave that got good that you could sit on, you'd know that even have hire somebody to say, okay, read the surf lines for me. And yeah, and they call in and say, hey, it's gonna be pumping at father-in-law's house. Wouldn't you want to do that? But she doesn't. She doesn't want any of the surfing except for the wave sliding.
Yeah, exactly. Um, by the way, speak while we're on the topic of Jersey, obviously they've been making the news in recent weeks due to the Jersey Beach badge. Kelly Slater took a stance on it on Instagram, directing everybody to a change.org petition. So, do you know what is the New Jersey Beach badge, and what is the controversy now?
New Jersey beach badge. I think we take for granted on the West Coast that beach is free and easy, or not, maybe not easy, but always free, right? I mean, I don't know. I think there's probably some those whatever campgroundy state parky things where you have to pay to park, but you can still wander in anywhere. You never have to pay to go to the beach. In New Jersey, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, you have to have a badge. You basically pay for the day. I think the price ranges from $10 to $40 or something even a day to be on the beach. And it's supposed to all that money is supposed to go to the like whatever beach upkeep, I guess, or beach front stuff, to maintain bathrooms or whatever, I suppose. Uh, and surfers and fishermen, I believe, are not required to get the beach badge. You could do water activities, but you can't linger on the beach. But these two, so the first guy who got arrested, uh, they claim the police that this was in Belmare, New Jersey. They claim that he didn't get arrested for not having a beach badge. He got arrested for resisting arrest, I guess. But the assumption is the initial thing would have been for the beach badge, right? Like, and that's what it's on video. They're asking him for his beach badge. So he, in fact, did get arrested for not having a beach badge, even though theoretically it's not illegal not to. Second surfer got arrested for protesting. So went and sat at the high water line and got hauled off by the cops. So feels like New Jersey really is mishandling this to me, of making a giant mess out of something that was already probably bad. I wouldn't like to have to pay for the beach, but also I don't know. I would like to hear it from a Jersey surfer. Maybe there's some kind of bonus to having people pay for the beach. Maybe it keeps crowds down, and if you don't have to have a badge as a surfer, then I would like to hear from the New Jersey surfing community about this. Is this a good thing? The beach badges? Does it keep, does it put some kind of cap? Without it, would just like the entire island of Manhattan, you know, flood into New Jersey for the summer and pack the beaches? I mean, so yeah, but it definitely seems like the New Jersey police have absolutely mishandled it and made people very, very angry with the idea of what they're doing.
Yeah. So I actually talked to Professor Mansell
Nice.
Surfboards, who we talked about, I think, a week or two ago. I had a long conversation with him about it. I'm going to publish it as a podcast in about 2 weeks. And his thought, he does not make an argument for the beach badge, but he explains the history of it. And it seems like maybe it's a vestige of the past for sure. But at the time, it seemed to, the community went along with it because in the way that there are fishing licenses and hunting licenses that you need, those funds have been allocated appropriately for conservation work and all that kind of stuff, So you agree with it and you go with it. But it's gone to the point now with the beach pass where it's kind of there's too many people who want access to the beach, and it seems unreasonable to charge them for access to the beach. And you could probably generate those funds through other methods, whether it's parking or whatever. And so it seems a little archaic to charge people when it's a tiny community and you have this little resource and you can all chip in a nickel to help support the resource. That's one thing. But now it's just kind of everything is overgrown and there's too many people and it's too hard to track. But with this incident specifically, the guy who got manhandled by the police, he presumably has and owns a beach badge, but there's no way to wear it in a wetsuit when you're surfing. And so that's where there was a confrontation. He's like, look, you guys, we always look the other way. Like surfers come and go all the time. And just the unwritten law is that we just look the other way because, we have one. We're just can't wear it in a wetsuit, basically.
I don't even think surfers need one. I think you can play in the water without one. So
right. But then what if you're checking the waves?
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean,
so you get out of the water and you're standing there looking at the surf, and then the police officer comes up and is like, you're not allowed to loiter. Yeah.
I mean, I feel that's where the Belmare police, and they should slap that police officer right down. It just seems like classic arrogant police over, you ask a dude a question and he gives some sass, and then all of a sudden you're Richter 10 of, what'd you say to me? Like,
exactly.
The police going out of control, like at the drop of a hat.
I remember I was like, I don't know, 22 years old or something, but I had a cousin who's a little bit younger. So at the time he was probably 17, 18. And he was really into skating and we were hanging out for the day. And so I went to the skate park with him and all his little hooligan skate buddies. And the cops came, they confronted him about, I don't even know what, maybe it was helmets or something like that. So I'm like the older guy who doesn't really care about skating, but the cops were really being dicks to them. And at some point I said something and it wasn't even like, I wasn't even defending the kid's behavior or anything like that. I just made some sort of a comment and the cop looked at me and was just like, you got something to say to me? And like really came at me hot and heavy. I was like, bro, like, first of all, I know my rights. Like, there's no reason for you to talk to me like this at all. Like, it was like crazy town, how much of a dick he was being. And this was kind of right before everybody had cell phones in their pocket, or cameras in their cell phone. And ultimately what happened in the beach scenario that we were discussing in New Jersey, obviously everything is filmed nowadays. And that level of overreach or just over, I don't know what, physicality of the police goes viral. And now whatever it is that police officer was trying to protect is going to get eradicated entirely. Like the community would have left these beach badges in place if you would have just given the guy the slap on the wrist or whatever it was. But because you took it to the next level, now it's a public thing. And that surfer, by the way, has gotten a crazy lawyer, like a really high profile attorney who is going to now sue and take this as far as they can. It's going to be on national news. He's going to publicize it, all that kind of stuff, just to prove a point. So that one police officer who was being a dick, like the guy to me at the skate park, now is going to take down the entire system simply because he had a, ego.
I mean, it's you would think that it's got to be a hard thing for, because I feel people who become cops, like, you know, that is inherent maybe to a lot of them, not to, wanting power or liking to be in charge, or even good feelings of this guy could have had a feeling like, I am enforcing this beach badge rule, this cop, I'm enforcing this beach badge rule for the good of everybody. It's not fair if this guy can use the resources and not have a beach badge, right? So I've had enough. I'm line in the sand here. I'm taking this one down. Uh, but yeah, like I don't know, that native what feeling in a lot of cops. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thankful
This,
for film now, because it's just all exposed.
I mean, I am pro law enforcement. I'm pro cop. I have friends, good friends, in the sheriff's department and stuff. And I understand their plight. I understand like what they're dealing with in this modern society, just
Yeah.
trying to actually enforce the rules. But there's another thing that I'm aware of, which is the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, and you have to, as the police officer, have that level of discernment where when it's me, the 22-year-old at the skate park, and I'm clearly not an offender, like you can just treat me like a normal human being. I'm certainly not a criminal, but I'm also not offending anything at all. Or in the New Jersey example, this guy's clearly just gotten out of the water. He's soaking wet. He's probably just glancing back at the waves to wait for his buddy who's getting a ride in or something like that. You go up, and even if you ask him for his beach badge and he doesn't want to provide it, you could leave it there. There's no need to elevate the situation. He is not a criminal. That is not
The problem,
who
the
you're actually hired to police. You know
the
what I mean?
totally. The problem is, I reckon though, is that police, you're not allowed to have one bad day, right? Or one bad moment. Like this police officer, not defending him, but he could have forgiven 20, people or surfers the week before, right? Just say, and then this one, maybe something happened at home and he was like feeling edgy, didn't sleep last night, had too much coffee, was feeling aggravated, and then bam, next thing he knows, the whole beach badge industry is collapsing because of
I'm,
his aggression.
I mean, it's an interesting and a very true point that in that profession, you are not allowed to have one bad day.
But
And I
at
don't think
least they know
that's,
it now, though. I feel like you're getting filmed, you're filming, right? Because which was weird. They released his body cam footage. Did you see all that?
yeah,
This was like 5 minutes or something of his, because the Belmar police was claiming that it was deceptively edited. The first one that went out
right,
made him look, second one was no better for the cop. I didn't think, like,
right.
because what kid wasn't doing anything worth getting arrested for. Not providing your information to a cop shouldn't mean you get your, unless there's like there's a suspect, loose that looks like this guy. And then I could understand, oh, he didn't provide his information and they were worried about a murder running loose, then boom.
Totally.
But otherwise, what are you doing? Yeah, but hopefully, and it does feel like policing is changing a bit, that you don't hear so many kind of George Floyd stories, as many anymore, right? I mean, there's still the cop who just shot I mean, there's still regular ones, but
He shot the woman in the face who clearly had mental illness
yes,
and was presenting zero threat. And he lied
yes,
about it instantly. Every other officer that came on the scene, he lied to them and said that she was going to splash the hot water on him,
yeah,
which she clearly wasn't. But the good news there is he got fired instantly.
yeah. I mean,
You know what
that's
I
what it
mean?
feels
As
like. There is
opposed to
a
the
sea
police
change.
department. Yeah, as opposed to the police department, you know,
Defending.
defending and then letting him go while he's still paid, while they investigated all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. They were just like fire instantly and we'll clean up the mess.
yeah.
So, but yeah, bummer. The bigger kind of conversation here is just charging for beach access seems really wrong-headed at this point.
Except for like I could see how a small community would say like, yeah, charge them. Like all these people are coming in from out of town using our resource, the one that we live with all the time, the one that we, have to maintain and clean and fix and whatever. Uh, so charge the blow-ins, right? Where I don't understand how there's not something like that, where if you live in Belmar, say, in the zip code, beach is free for you. If you are outside of the zip, then you gotta buy your badge.
Pretty elitist. I mean, that's like the homeowner in Malibu who won't let you go sit in front of their sand.
That's true, I guess. I guess you just gotta let
I,
live.
I mean, I think beach access for all makes a lot of sense. I think that's just civil, you know? But I do like the idea of if the blow-ins don't treat the resource, you know, in the way that we deem is the best for everybody, then fine them. You know, if they litter,
Yeah,
$1,000, like $3,000 fine.
yeah,
Like
just
come up with a
pop.
crazy number. If you leave one piece of trash on the beach, we're going to charge you so much that it covers beach cleanups for the next month,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And we're
Draconian
gonna film
finding.
everything, and we're gonna have your license plate on film too, and we're gonna document it. And maybe you leave it and you get away with it today, but guess what? We'll review the footage and send you a bill.
We got you next time.
So,
Jersey.
um,
Love Jersey.
yeah. Well, let's see. Where should we go next? Let's go to post-retirement surf careers. The Four Seasons Maldives Surfing Championship kicked off yesterday. This is the event that we hear about every year. They do an incredible event. First of all, the waves are pumping. Then they
Yep.
have a mix of current pro surfers with former pro surfers. They do a single fin, twin fin, and tri fin event. This year it's Carissa Moore, Jeremy Flores, Michael February, Jadson Andre, Taj Burrow, all competing in this event. And to kick off this conversation, I'm going to go to a listener line call about one Kelly Slater and how he should be spending the next phase of his life. Can you hear that?
No.
Yeah, I think I did it wrong. Hold on. Stop share, screen share, share sound. That
There we
is
go.
okay.
Hey, I get why you guys believe Kelly should retire, or maybe he retired. I honestly don't know, and I don't care that much. But just a counterpoint to it, it's so cool that someone in their 50s is competing in this, or was competing in the WSL against people less than half his age. I mean, that's incredible, right? Nobody's denying that. So why not see how far he can take it? Could he still be on the tour, even if he gets cut mid-season? Could he still be good enough to be on the tour in his late 50s or in his 60s? Like, that's an achievement. And maybe it would be cool for Slater to stay on literally as long as he can, as kind of an experiment to see how far the human body can go if you take care of your body properly. I don't, but I would like to see someone who can, and that would be super cool. Thank you.
Thoughts?
Guess what? I'll tell you how far they can go. That person can go to the age of roughly 50. Kelly fell off tour and he got smeared everywhere else. I mean, that's the truly as a competitor, and nothing against Kelly, but he's off tour. Like, he got kicked off. The only way he got into the back half of the tour was through wild cards. The only way he'll be able to get on tour next year is through wild cards. So Kelly officially fell off tour. What? Yeah, at this past midseason cut. That was Kelly's last hurrah. And if things had been left fair or not fair, whatever, they can do whatever they want with their wild cards. But if all things equal, let's say, Kelly would not have surfed the back half of the season. He would have had to go to the QS, and if he wanted to keep trying, he would have had to slog enough points on the QS to get back on tour, which would have taken a couple years. So if you want to see him do that, I could see that would be interesting. And look, though, for those who think, I think there's an idea, right? There always is. There's this lingering idea of greatness in the greats. You go see Tom Brady play quarterback that last year, and you think, did he win a Super Bowl his last year? No, that was the second to last year. His last year was rough, right? Where eventually the talent fades, but the memory of the greatness fades slower. And so you still think Kelly's got it. Kelly does not have it. Kelly would go to the QS and get smashed by Brazilians you have never heard of before.
I agree. And then also though, it's Kelly's he could still push the limits of surfing. It doesn't have to be on tour. Excuse me. It's a more there's I would argue the tour is actually going to regress his surfing. Like he is at a level of ocean awareness and ability that really can only best be appreciated and further pushed in
Pumping.
epic surf. And so him going on the CS tour and trying to beat, no-name Brazilians is not going to advance his surfing. It's not going to advance the progress of the sport, any of that stuff. It's not going to advance his own athleticism, in this bodily experiment that the caller's talking about. So the only way for Kelly to actually do what the callers talk about is to get off tour, is to go focus your efforts on finding the best waves on the planet and then surfing them better than anybody's ever seen surfed before. And I think it's also a dignified next chapter in his career. And I think that we still could see the best surfing of his life in the future.
I mean, imagine if Kelly Slater really decided to say, okay, look, here we go. People have written me off. People have said, all these podcasters, dang podcasters, said I don't got it anymore. What do they know? Spends the next year and a half, 2 years going around the world. I feel the waves don't just have to be pumping, they have to be kind of critical. That's where Kelly Slater is best now, is in critical pumping waves, and not Nathan Florence style critical where it's like insane, but like, the best cloud break, the best pipeline, the best chopu. Not that 𝐿𝐴 is necessarily critical, but the best 𝐿𝐴, right? Like these waves, these canvases, go make the best film anyone has ever seen, surf film anyone's ever seen as a 56-year-old would be great. The problem here, I feel that Kelly's narcissistic personality disorder has made for such that he needs constant feedback and constant not necessarily praise, just constant attention. And I don't really think he has narcissistic personality disorder, but I feel that Kelly's needs the spotlight. I think that has been very true, like demonstrably true over the years. He needs to, like, even going back to losing Fiji and sitting at the bar casually next to the person who's going, is going to be on air, right?
Yeah.
And then, oh, well, here's Kelly. Let's talk. Like, that need is not me saying it. That need is obvious. I think Kelly needs nonstop feedback so much that he won't be able to go do something like that he won't be able to disappear for 2 years and come back with the best movie anyone's ever seen.
I think part of that need is just competitive, the adrenaline that you get from competing.
But also,
like it is wanting to be the best, but also in the confines of the competition, like that, there's a level of intensity in that would be really hard to replicate elsewhere.
I get that, but I would understand if Kelly was in his heat, like mainlining, snorting competitiveness, right? And then disappearing. But he's not. It's his need to be there is what's the greatest need. His need to be sitting next to Stace Galbraith at the bar.
Yeah.
His need to be, let's call in Kelly and see what, Kelly just happens to be stumbling by. Let's talk to Kelly. Kelly's ever presence to me just says that he really needs that, right? He doesn't want it. He needs it.
The WSL and or maybe Firewire and directed by Taylor Steele put together a little film, which is called From Grom to Goat. Got emailed to me this week from their PR department. 2.5 minutes long or so, kind of counting his career and his from childhood all the way up till now. And one of the clips that they showcased was when he won Pipe a couple years ago, when he should have retired. There was a wave that he got at backdoor. I think it was against 𝐍𝐚𝐬𝐻𝐭, so maybe it was the semifinal. I forget. But he drops out of the sky. It's a double to almost triple overhead wave, drops out of the sky in the falling lip, connects at the bottom, pulls up into the tube, stands there like a statue, like so casual, like, or just confident, gets blown out of the thing. It was a 10-point ride. And obviously it was an incredible ride at the time. We all celebrated it. But when I rewatched that in that clip, I'm like, that'll be a 10 in 10 years from now. Like that was just such an unbelievable wave. And to your point, critical, just the most critical thing I've ever seen. It's mind blowing, So that is the level of surfing that Kelly is capable of, and that honestly, nobody else is capable of. Like, he's the only person on the planet that could have done that.
But
so that's what we want to see.
He is legit. And it's, I suppose, ain't it funny that our heroes are all too human, because he's going to wreck that in order to sit next to Stace Galbraith at the bar to get a little bit of shine. Like, Kelly is going to take that gift he has and basically punt it because he needs immediate attention so badly.
Let's hope not. I think dignified next chapter of the career is doing what Torren Martin does.
Yeah, but it takes a bit of disappearing to do what Torren Martin does, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a bit of, you can't just be ever present. And I think, again, Kelly doesn't want to be ever present. Kelly needs to be ever present.
Kelly should recognize that there is so much value in scarcity. There's actually more value.
He may know that. That's the problem. He may look you in the eye and say, I know that's true. I have a disease, David Lee Scales. I need attention. Like, I crave it. I wake up in the morning and I try not to. I try to, fast from attention. I try to gone to attention rehab. Nothing works, man. I'm just there sitting next to Stace.
The only cure, more cowbell.
Yeah.
More camera time. Well, let's go to a pro in the wild call coming in.
Guys, this is Aaron, calling from the Bay Area. And I just got out of the water by a very famous Taco Bell that I'm sure most people in this community are familiar with. And it brought to mind a story that I guess is a pro in a while, about February, March of this year, at the same spot, get out of the water and decide to have the Taco Bell. It's right there. And sitting on the balcony on the back, and lo and behold, Lenny is doing like a photo shoot, video shoot, some kind of promotion thing with Taco Bell. And I spent a few years in Hawaii and know a couple people that know him, and just said, what's up? And threw him a shaka, super friendly. Couldn't say nice enough things about the guy. He was very, very kind. And I feel like this is just a pro in the wild of, he's a good dude. He seems like a really good dude in comparison to Billy Kemper, who maybe is not so friendly at a beach. You guys are great. Keep work.
I just feel like the Taco Bell connection to Lenny needs to be discussed more every week, actually.
It definitely does. Real quick to Kai, before we get into Taco Bell. Kai is one of those guys who just seems like a good guy, right?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard anybody come up and say, Kai, guess what? Lenny was mean. Or guess what? Lenny did this or that. Lenny is so nice that Lenny came on to Dirty Water back in the day with me and Derek Riley. That's how nice Lenny is. Like, imagine very many surfers wanted to do that. I mean, or a certain breed of surfers like to do that. Kai is not that breed. Yet Kai comes on. Kai is effervescent. He's a great, great dude, that Lenny. We can still make fun of him, but he's a great dude.
Incredibly talented, just like unbelievably hardworking. Just one of the best figures in surfing altogether.
I will still damn him for his Mark Zuckerberg bro down.
No, but the point is he's so nice. He
I
doesn't
know.
even see the evil in the evil genius.
I know. So nice that the most evil person on earth currently like befriends you and you're like, let's surf together.
Exactly. Just sees the good in everybody,
Yeah.
you know? Kai is almost too nice to where it took me, I'm going to say at least 8 years of being fully exposed to Kai, getting full Kai exposure before I even cared. You know, I
Yeah.
was just like, he's just not interesting to me. Like, okay, cool. He's super talented, but not interesting to me, you know, because there's no edge there. There's nothing kind of, I don't know. I guess he has charm and charisma, but there's no character beyond that I could see. But on year 9, I finally was like, okay, I get it. I see it. He's also very smart, very articulate, very well spoken. So kudos, bravo to Kai. But the Taco Bell thing still blows my mind. When he first started promoting Taco Bell, I thought that it was just a paid promotion, and I thought it was the most disingenuous sponsorship that I had ever seen, because he is an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
Fueling his body with garbage, you know, but come to find out there was no paid promotion. He just sincerely loves Taco Bell.
Okay, so here's the thing now. Does it make you feel bad about feeling that Taco Bell is garbage? What if Taco Bell is pretty okay for you? What if studies come out that Taco Bell, you know, maybe don't use the highest quality ingredients, but all in all, it's fair to middling?
I considered that for a moment, and no, I think that's incorrect. I think that Lenny is young enough and a freak of nature enough to where it doesn't contaminate his system as badly as it contaminates anybody else's. But give him a little bit of time. Give him another decade. I don't think he'll be eating Taco Bell.
I don't know though. I mean, I've rolled this theory out on the program before about the inoculation, where if you're too clean, things go haywire. You can't be too clean. Maybe Taco Bell is the exact amount. There's no bad anywhere else in Lenny's whole. There's not even bad vibes. There's not even bad thoughts. There's not bad days. There's nothing bad in Lenny's universe. The only thing keeping him alive, maybe, is that little bit of bad food.
Could be because then it inoculates him against any other potential
bad
virus that he encounters.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only way. He is such a pure, beautiful, he's like too good for this world, right? If he stops eating Taco Bell, all the demons would just like jump in and he'd be done. If he stops eating Taco Bell, he'll go straight to Jack Daniels. He'll just be wasted on his porch, just downing it by the bottle.
I like that idea, that concept, and I actually do believe in that in most areas of my life. So I'm going to agree with you. But for some reason, I have a personal qualm with Taco Bell, just because it's so disgusting to me. So I have a hard time embracing that particular vice.
Okay, give me you got to eat fast food. Give me your top 3 fast foods.
Does In-N-Out count as fast food?
We're not counting In-N-Out. In-N-Out is A, regional, and B, somehow, even though it is the fastest of food, even though it is quintessential fast food, hamburgers and milkshakes and French fries never feels like fast food. So, and also many of our listeners don't have access to In-N-Out. So In-N-Out out.
So top 3, again, I hate to sound like a douche. I don't eat fast food. I haven't eaten fast food in 10 years, I'd say. Wow. So I really don't have one. I mean, if I was forced to, I think Chick-fil-A might fit the bill.
Okay.
McDonald's French fries. I would eat McDonald's French fries.
Taco Bell is at the very near the top of my charts. I haven't had it for a minute, but there sometimes, yeah, I will drive through a Taco Bell and grab, especially if they're advertising some crazy cheesy burrito thing, I'm all in.
Cheese.
Liquid, like fake nacho cheese on top of fake nacho cheese on top of some fake jalapeno cheese on some ground beef. And I am in that drive-through window before they know it.
But will you regret it?
No, I might today. I haven't done it in too long. Generally, no. If you keep the inoculations up,
Yeah,
keep
that's true.
taking your Taco Bell vitamins, vitamin TB, and you'll cruise right along.
So I did eat a ton of Taco Bell in my life. And as I got older, I just enjoyed it less and less. But that's exactly what happened was, I'd used to go, let's say, 3 times a week. And then I cut it back to 2. And those 2 became more infectious in my body and less enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, well, then I cut it back to 1 on a given week.
And then
And
you're
then it was
done.
like, oh, now I'm really not enjoying this. And it really hurts my stomach. And I wake up in the morning feeling terrible. And then it was just once every month and it was all downhill from there. So
do you ever go get a deli sandwich? Either Jersey Mike's, a Subway, a whatever, Jimmy John's. What is your favorite there?
occasionally, Jimmy John's, I would say, out of those.
I'm a Jersey Mike's man.
Okay.
Really like
Oh,
Jersey
no,
Mike's.
that's what I meant to say. Jersey Mike's. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Jersey
Good.
Mike's,
Good.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we could get a Jersey Mike's sponsor. We could be like the 𝐏𝐚𝐬𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑡s of Jersey Mike's.
What about El Pollo Loco? Does that count?
El Pollo Loco I'll count as fast food.
El Pollo Loco is pretty good. I'll have
Yeah.
chicken off of somebody's plate occasionally. My mom will grab it for Austin and stuff, and it's fine. Totally
bad.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. The other detail I wanted to say about Lenny was just his YouTube series, Life of Kai. You know who's shooting that is
Who?
Keith Malloy.
Oh, what? How's that?
Keith Malloy is traveling around the world with Kai Lenny, documenting all that stuff.
Well, now I got to watch it.
I know. It's really good.
Okay, sold. I mean,
I
Keith
know.
Malloy, that I like Kai. Again, there's something too good about Kai for my eyeballs. Keith Malloy adds just the right amount of grit.
Agreed. And that is such a great choice for Kai. I mean, Keith has made incredible films in the past, and so it was kind of odd for me to see him partnering up with Kai, but I watch it and it's like, it's very good. Like Kai is benefiting by having Keith on the team.
Love it.
I know. Great. Moving on, True Grit or clickbait switch. Quote, legendary actress Demi Moore describes how surf scene in Charlie's Angels film forces her to struggle with identity.
It's true. The surf scene was the fact that she was wearing a bikini in the surf scene. I had to read this story like 4 times to understand what she was getting at here.
Okay.
But then I
You had to read your own story for
No, I had to read, like, I think I got it in, and I would have had to read my own story like 6 times, right? But I think I got wherever it was, Variety. It was one of the Hollywood Reporter, something like that, one of the Hollywood rags, where she sat down for an interview and discussed how that scene forced her to struggle with her identity. I do believe she would have been she's 61 now. That was 2003, I think, the film. So would have been 40s, early 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
And so anyway, though, she was just talking about back then, I think in particular, and maybe in general in Hollywood. So she was still sexy, right? There's still this sexy scene. And if you watch the scene, I posted it on Beach Grit. There's like, lesbian flirtation with Cameron Diaz. They like go in for a fake kiss kind of thing, right? So it's all steamy and sultry. And she's 40-ish, but she was saying her struggle with her identity as women in Hollywood, right? When you're that age, you're kind of between. You're not a sex or considered, especially back then. I think, Hollywood now has a lot of sex symbols that are older, but back then I think it was more rare. And so you're not a sex symbol anymore, but you're too young to be the mother figure, which are kind of the 2 boxes you get to be put in for a actress. You're either, a sexy lead or you're a mom. And she was between that. And so that's what caused her to struggle with her identity, all wrapped up in a surfing bow.
Got it. So the struggle wasn't the lesbian
No.
kind of theme of the scene.
The struggle was,
like,
who am
forced
I?
into it.
Who am I as an
Gotcha,
actress, right?
gotcha,
Am
gotcha,
I
gotcha.
young and sexy? Am I a pin-uppy kind of thing? Or am I mommy?
Yeah. I think for a long period of time, women and maybe even Hollywood itself underestimated dudes' interest in older women.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely. I think that Hollywood is so short-sighted in so much of what it does. like ridiculously so, right? I think it gets praised for being innovative and forward when there's like one movie that comes out that's innovative and forward, where
Yeah.
everybody just forgetting the 800 movies made that year that were fully retrograde and dumb. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think that, and even not just sexy older women, women as complex characters, right? I don't
Yeah.
think until fairly recently, and I think it's still hard for women in Hollywood to get complex roles where your personality, or, you're not just good or you're not just bad, but there's yeah, it's ridiculous to me, ridiculous. And Hollywood of all places should be progressive and liberal as anything, and still only serve up like pre-warm tropes of women as either sexy young or mother old.
Totally. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Um, I can only speak for myself and my own kind of interests, but when I was a kid, I had a crush on my school teacher. That was an older woman. You know what I mean? And when I was a teenager or early adult, there was older women that I thought were hot. And even now, it's like Demi Moore now, or Heather Graham now, or Elizabeth Hurley now are all equally as hot to
Smoke
me
shows.
as they were when they were 22 years old. You know what I mean? Like,
I find it, and I guess it is just taste. I find it uncomfortable when guys get older and older, 40s, 50s, uh, and still like are, you know, about like 20-year-olds. I'm like, that is,
when they're still attracted to 20-year-olds.
yeah, when that's
Oh, I
like,
know.
because I mean, that's the norm, I feel, right? Is like,
Well, that's a stereotype.
yeah, but I mean, I think Matthew McConaughey and uh what's the great movie? His first movie, right?
Oh,
I keep
Dazed and
getting
Confused.
Dazed and Confused. I keep getting older, they stay the same age. Notion, I think, is true for a lot of dudes, but I've always, yeah, like I've always found that very discomforting, I suppose. And so maturing myself and then finding the attraction in also, more mature women.
It's very discomforting. I've run myself through this thought exercise where I in recent times have had conversations, let's say with a 22-year-old in, I don't know what environment, a restaurant or something like that, and she's an attractive 22-year-old, and we have enough of a conversation for me to understand the entire intellectual divide between a 42-year-old dude and a 22-year-old person. And in that moment, I then think there's dudes my age dating that
Yeah,
want to date that girl because I could see objectively she's attractive,
totally. And all
but
things equal,
oh
that's
my
who they
God,
beat with.
but oh my God,
What do you talk about?
60 seconds into this exchange with her, I realized it would be so inappropriate for me to try to, uh, uh, you know, um, romance her. Like it'd be so easy for me to do because I can run all these circles around her intellectually and like cater to her interests and talk about the things she likes and listen to her and all this kind of stuff that you can dupe somebody into a sense of feeling loved. You know what I mean?
Love
But
bombing, as they
but
say today.
but oh my God, that would be so inappropriate for me to do because it's so obvious for how you can manipulate somebody to like you. You know what I mean?
It,
And physically, I'm not attracted. Like she looks like a child. That's the other thing is the older you get, the younger everybody looks, like Lauren was watching Love Island,
oh
which I'm
yeah,
embarrassed to admit, but she
yep,
was watching that the other day and I walked in the room and I was just like, why are these like 16-year-olds painting onto their face an adult's face?
yeah,
You know? And I'm like, and that girl has like Botox and fake lips. Like, did her parents have to sign on for that? She goes, dude, these people are 26. And I'm
yeah,
like, what? I
yeah.
thought they were 16. She goes, no, they're 26. I'm like, this makes no sense to me at all. These look like children painting adult faces on.
I totally hear you. I am totally with you. And again, I guess to each their own. To the dude who's out there who's like, man, yeah, like 24-year-old women, that's my jam,
Crazy.
I don't get it. It seems, I don't know, the intellectual divide, it seems like literally robbing the cradle. But I will say that right after Demi Moore struggled with her her what did she struggle with again?
Identity.
Her identity. She went and married dude 20 years her junior, whatever he was, Ashton Kutcher, and her were married roughly after that.
That's true. I forgot about that.
But she went and she struggled with her identity and then went and robbed the cradle. She figured out my identity is young babe. I'm gonna go get me a young babe dude.
Man, I fully forgot they were married.
Yeah, married for a lot. They had kids, did they? No,
No, I don't think so.
they didn't. He had kids with his co-star from
Mila.
that 70s show,
Mila Kunis.
Kunis.
Does
Does it surprise you every time you reread that Mila Kunis is Ukrainian?
No, I committed it to my memory at a long point.
Okay.
A long time ago, and now it's solidified.
Stuck. Okay.
This entire last 9 minutes of conversation should have been on the Grid After Dark.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We could just cut it out and put it in that show. Okay, well, let's go to commercial break, and then we will be back with Barrel or Not. All right, Chaz, we're back. Barrel or Not.
Exciting. I hope it's surf related. We got to get back to the surf. The problem, I'll tell you, the problem with this surf talk lately, it has been so flat down here. And I know that people need to travel for surf. And I know that I should do a better job. I'm sure it's pumping somewhere I can drive or good enough. It has been ludicrously, like, so silly that all I do now is I go, because the water's so warm, I just go to the beach and I splash around like a little fool. I like jump waves and, you know, fake body surf since it's too small to actually body surf. I act like a 12-year-old boy in the ocean. So maybe that's sucking my surf talk away.
Maybe you're having more fun. I mean, are you having as much fun doing that as you would be surfing?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐸ing. I'm like having too much fun maybe. I need to get my rage back. Go sit in the lineup next to somebody and feel hatred because they paddled around me to catch a wave.
Right. Well, I have a game that we could play that maybe will bring some fun back into your life.
Great.
It's a game that I think Surf Ads introduced on Beach Grid a while ago, which was, is this an inertia headline or not? I designed 10 of them, I think, but I was like, I don't know. It could be too much. Like 10 could be too much. And then are you going to, so how about if I just give you 2 at a time? We'll do 2 today. We could do 2 next week. And you can just pick one is, one isn't, one is, and you have to pick which one is.
Okay.
Okay. Option A. Are smart surf cams good, bad, or downright evil for surfing? That's your first option. Option B. Medina, divorced, single, ready to mingle with championship in 2025.
It's got to be A.
Is the inertia is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Correct. A is the inertia.
Here's how you can know, dear listener, in case you were intrigued. Anything vaguely intriguing that you'd want to click on is not the inertia.
Oh.
I'd want to know about Medina being single and ready to mingle, right? I mean, that would get me to actively click. I do not have any care about attaching morality to surf cams, so I wouldn't click. That's the inertia.
Well, you're 1 for 1 so far. We'll keep a tally from next week. That I'm gonna have to rework all my titles now.
You got to look
now that
you
I
got
know
to
your
think,
strategy.
is this interesting at all? If it is at all, you got to change it.
Okay. All right. Now I got
Sam George took a dig at Beach Grit in his last column.
What did he say? What was the column?
It was on something so dumb. I think it was on like Raymana at Surf Ranch something, and 2 wonderful Beach Grit commenters, Michael Chase, and I can't remember who the other one was. I don't remember, or I didn't read the comments, but it made reference to, I think, Pocahontas or something in the Raymana context of, you know, the native helping the non-native do something that maybe later, and I don't know what their reference was, but it was something like that, you know, and they're all literate dudes. Sam George came in and said a surf site or something known, his reference was so subtly stupid. It was like that writes the equivalent of literary dick jokes or something like that. And then directly referenced the Pocahontas, and there was another one, Sacagawea maybe references, but then went on such a long nerd, I'm the boss of the world and I know everything tangent. He wasn't even making fun of it. He was just like brought it up and was like explained it, and then but maybe a better reference is, and then went on. Like, the fact that he thinks he's so smart is amazing. To be Sam George for one day and truly think somehow that you are keeper of all knowledge would be a wild day.
Would be. Well, it's funny that you mentioned the word nerd, because that is where our first barrel or nah comes in.
Hey, this is Chris from Florida calling for David and Chaz at the Grit with a barrel or nah. And this is something that just is astounding in my life. Adult nerds. I have been working at a country club for the past 6 months, and in every department there are adult nerds, full on comic books, Pokemon, Star Wars, anime, you name it, all totally so deep into these worlds that just, it's mind blowing. Some of them with their kids, some of them not, still collecting comic books, still looking for rare Pokemon cards, but like so deep into the nerd world, like talking almost another language. I'm huge nah. This is just mind blowing to me. A huge discovery. Like, thought this was for kids. So barrel or nah, being a total devoted adult nerd. Cheers. Keep up the work.
What say you?
Ooh, this is a tough one, and I do hate to go against a listener. I understand the knob, but I'm going full barrel. I'm saying go operate in your world. I want nothing to do with any of that. I don't want anything to do with Pokemon cards. I don't want anything to do with comics. I don't personally like nor care about the MCU. Is that what it's called? The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I
The
did not know that that was even a thing.
the MCU is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I haven't seen, I think I watched on the plane flying to Europe or home from Europe. What? Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy, one of those, the two one. And I was vaguely amused by that, but that's as far as I get into that. But all you adult nerds, go have adult nerd world. Go have your conventions, which I know you do. Dress up as your characters. Do all of this, because I feel that leaves me more room to do what I like to do. That adult nerd does not have time to do the things I like to do now. So I don't want him around. I don't want her around. I'm not a human hater. I love my peoples, but I just don't need them around. If that's your inclination, then have at it. Barrel,
Yeah.
adult nerd.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going no barrel. And this is not the adult nerd is not an imposition on me, and everybody's entitled to live their own life, obviously. However, I'm going to make the argument that this does not allow them to live their best life. There's a difference between me being obsessed with surfing versus somebody else being obsessed with Pokemon, collecting Pokemon cards. And it's not just that one is, a physical activity outdoors and one isn't. It's more that you're living in Pokemon, you're living in a universe that somebody else created. Like, if your entire thing is stepping inside to someone else's creativity and just marveling at that, then it very much limits your own intellectual exploration, is what I would argue. So I think it's okay to delight in it for 2 hours. If you watch a movie and you get swept away for those 2 hours and caught up in it, that's fine. But then check out and go do your own world. You should live in your own world, and you should be inspired by Walt Disney's creativity to then create your own universe and your own thing. And because I just feel that it's a healthier intellectual experience to live in.
I'll totally agree that the adult nerd should, if you're into Disneyland and Pokemon, if you're into like infantilized things, push yourself, right? Like, try to take baby steps towards appreciating art or music or food or something in a more profound way. Because yeah, every adult nerd thing, all this, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe on down, all of it is really shallow, right? And I know that there's like a trillion different storylines in comics where, you know, they wouldn't think it's shallow. What are you talking about, man? It's like Superman and blah de blah had a thing and a blah and a b and this and that and whatever. Where that's not depth though, right? That's all shallow, or it's all one thing. It's all one note. Expand, play another note, see how that feels. If everybody, I mean, I feel especially in America, we are so like rotting ourselves from the inside out with our lack of culture. There is no the and I'm not just trying to be a jerk about this, but the lack of appreciation of culture, of a good orchestra versus, you know, a I don't know, Disney tunes. Like, try to get there, or at least try to understand that this thing is very complex and the thing I like is very simple.
I think the one note is kind of where I also have the problem with it is if that's your thing that you're into and that's the only thing that you're into, then that's a problem. You need to have a little bit more diverse interests than just that one thing. And like you said, it might be somewhat shallow, or let's say the universe of Tolkien is probably not shallow. Like there's depth to it, but whatever the depth is, it hits a bottom because it was all created by one person who designed a thing to a certain specification. It's pretty deep, but it was a certain specification. You can hit all of that. Eventually, you can go as deep as you can, and you will identify all that's within that realm. It's more limiting than your own imagination is. So don't live inside their imagination and what they created, and that be your only thing that you're interested in life. Utilize that to explore your own creativity, and then take inputs from additional cultures into different things to have a diverse, you know, creative, intellectual experience.
Quick tool to live by for our tool to live by buried in a barrel or not. This is like a whole matrix right here. But our dear caller should start like enacting little high school style punishments on the nerds, like slap their folders out of their hands when they're walking down the hall, or like bump into them, or a little bit of a wedgie every now and then, or something. Like he should, if they're going to be adult nerds, he should be adult jock.
I like it. Embrace the jock.
Yeah.
I was confused too. He's like, I started working for a country club 6 months ago. And then he said in the different departments of the country club. And then I started thinking it sounds like an office environment. Like I was having a hard time understanding the whole. I didn't know country clubs are that diverse,
Complex.
where they have that many different, where yeah, there's a Star Wars nerd in a certain department, and then a Pokemon nerd over there on the golf course, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to hear more about this country club, to be honest. Call back.
It's pretty interesting. I would like to know more about country clubs in general. It's
Me
a
too.
fascinating little subculture.
Me too.
The final thought on the nerd thing is, if you're that into something that somebody in a different department can identify that that's what you're into, that's also a problem.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I go to the grocery store and nobody knows that I'm a surfer.
Yeah. Or people don't think you're like obsessing about it.
I mean, if I walked in wearing puka shell necklace and like zinc on my nose, that would be a problem. You know what I mean? They would be like, this guy, what the heck is like a costume the guy's wearing? That would be. So if somebody in a different department can identify that you're obsessed with Pokemon cards,
you got a problem.
Got a problem. Time to intervene.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think we left any meat on the bone of that one. Barrel or not, leaving ski racks on the roof of your car year round.
Wow, this is I mean, it's a no barrel for sure, but it's something precisely that I would do. I would like lose the tool, and then lo and behold, the bolt would be rusted, and I'd be like, well, it looks like ski racks are on forever. Like, it just is what it is.
Because this falls under the realm of me of like, you're trying to front and show everybody else that you're a skier, and it's June right now.
Okay,
but there's a little bit of work involved to get that thing off.
I do have a caveat on this. It is a barrel if they're like old rusted on ski racks. It is a no barrel if it's very clear that you are an organized person in your life, and if your garage is clean and you have ski racks on your car, then you're fronting and those things need to come off. If your garage is a disaster, that means your life is messy and you don't have time, or you lost your tool to take your ski racks off, leave them on.
Yeah. I'm going to take them off no matter what.
Even if your garage is messy, you're going to be buying new ski racks every year.
I know. That is a problem, but you need to do better. You need to clean that garage. You need to keep track of things.
There's a lot of things you need to do better, but you just ski racks on the car is way down that list.
I tried to buy a few months back a roof rack, or like the box that you put on, like a 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻 or a
𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻?
Thule.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like how everybody knows the brand names of all those. Like, I've never owned one. I could name the brand 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻 just right to mind, like front and center. I've never even gone on their web. I've never shopped for one, never thought about one, just seen enough.
It gets seared into your brain because you see them on the freeway all the time.
Yeah.
I did not buy one because it was insanely expensive.
Yeah, they're like $1,500 or something more
just for the box itself.
Yeah, and then you got to get the mounting.
Yeah. So I was driving home, I think maybe from recording a podcast or something. And I was like, we had a road trip coming up on that weekend. And I was doing the math in my head of how to fit everything in the back of my car. And it's going to be tight. And I was like, I could just get one of those boxes on the top of my car, and then that'll eliminate all my problems, right?
Yeah.
So I go on REI's website just to make sure that they have the product at the store that's on my drive home, because I could just pull off the freeway, pick it up right there, and the problem will be solved. And sure enough, they had the part. And so I'm like, sweet. So I pull in there, and I think the box for the extra large one was like $1,200.
Yeah.
Which is crazy expensive, first of all. And because it's just a box. I mean, it's made out of like whatever the material is, but it's way too expensive for what it is. But I was going to suck it up and go for it. Then he goes, okay, well, do you have the bar that goes across that this thing sits on? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, well, you need 2 of those. So they're $300 each. So that's another $600. So now I'm doing the math and I'm like, God, do I actually want to do this? And he goes, do you have the mounting mechanism that goes from your car to the bar? I'm like, no. Okay, well, you need 4 of those. And so then it's another $500. And then there was an additional part for that too. It was literally like what you thought. Yeah, $3,000. It was like what you thought was going to be $1,200, now $3,000. And by the way, we don't have all the parts in the store because each car has a different kind of roof mounting. So you got to go to that store to get this one, or we can mail it and it'll be there in a week. I was just like, you lost me at $3,000. Like, there's no way I'm doing this.
Some of those things, though, are so great. Sometimes I feel those interactions where you have an idea of something you want to do, and it goes, and it's like those ones where you're in the store struggling over, man, do I really want to spend that? And it's just outside your limit, but it's still too much. But it's just outside your maximum limit, but close enough where you're struggling with it. Those ones are torture. When it jumps so far into laughably absurd and you feel good spinning on heel and stomping out of the store, those ones are blessings.
Totally. Completely agree. And I'm still indignant about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, number one, I felt like it was a bait and switch. I feel like you lured me in here with this price, and now it's more than double what I thought it was going to be. I will never buy this product for the rest of my life now.
Does it make you think differently about driving down the 5 freeway, the 405, and seeing the boxes now? Do you think, you wealthy son of a gun?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm like, that rich secret millionaire.
Oh man, you should have one of those Venmo, I just got married Venmo things that you throw up real quick when you pass those guys.
Trying to buy a 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻.
Venmo.
Okay. All right. Final barrel or not. Adult males dyeing their hair.
Ooh, I'm a big no barrel on this one. David Lee Scales. It's a no barrel. Adult male. I think this falls in the category of any maintenance for an adult male other than shaving, clipping your fingernails, taking care of unsightly, whatever, nose hair, ear hair kind of things. Like, you don't ever want to be gross. Anything outside of the realm of just keeping you not gross is too much.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, I think this all falls under the realm of something you said a long time ago, which is you want to be not noticed.
Yes.
So if you have an unsightly hair growing out of your nose, obviously that's going to be noticed.
Yeah.
Or if you dye your hair, and it could be, I want to experience blue hair, that's bad. Well, you know, like a punk rock look, that's bad. But if it's just jet black to get rid of the gray, that also becomes super noticeable. So
Yep.
you want to walk the fine line of being right in the middle, let the wife be the superstar and fade into the background.
And if you are dyeing your hair and it's unnoticeable, uh, then you're spending too much time and money thinking about that, right? Like if you go to the salon and they have blended it so ideally, right? Like nobody thinks you dye your hair because it is just perfection. Uh, you're wasting time, man. Like that was whatever that for people not to notice you at that point,
Right.
they're also not going to notice you gray. So
Yeah.
just keep your time. Go spend that time collecting Pokemon cards.
Wasting time and money. That
Yeah.
money could have gone towards the Yakima roof rack.
It could have.
So yeah, don't adult males quit it.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing me.
Completely.
All right. Well, hey, great show. This was the grit, but guess what? Now there's the grit after dark.
Go tune in, see what you think. Slip into something comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. I think eventually, so obviously we're going to publish this immediately, so it'll be available when people are listening to this show right now. But I think in the future, maybe next week, we should separate them, maybe like a Monday, Tuesday show, and then the Friday show.
Definitely.
So people can get a
call.
dose midweek.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Little snip.
All right. So remind people, where can they find you on Instagram?
Now you can find me at Trash Pros. That is TRASHPROSE, all one word, Trash Pros. My longtime Twitter handle. It's what from Derek Riley, I think, calling my writing Trash Pros back in the day.
Smart. Welcome back to Instagram. And maybe don't go for numbers. Don't go for volume this time. Just cater to the core.
Here's what I was thinking, and give me some advice here of keeping it even private. Where you want to follow, I'll accept you. And then we can DM in the dark.
That's up to you. I don't quite understand the private profile unless you're a girl trying to, protect some sort of anonymity. But for if you're a public figure and you're a dude or a dude in general, I don't understand the private.
Okay. And I'll keep it public.
Okay. All right. Well, Trash Pros, go there, and then beachgrit.com, and I'm at Surf Journalist, and until next week.
Keep working.